welcome to Ill Eagle Culture Brand Talks. I'm your host, John Nostos, aka Ill Eagle CEO, with my co-hosts with an S on the end as well, Dion Two Cup Larry and Cody Big Meat Mauk.
Yeah.
And today we got a special guest with us, one of Cody's longtime friends, former teacher, former bodybuilding competition, and the guy who owes him a fucking steak still.
Yeah,
David
see, I
Woods.
really get to tell that story now.
Now we can get to the bottom of some real things, right?
Hear
Okay,
both sides.
not just Cody's version. So first, let's start off, Dave. Welcome to. Do we call you Dave, David, Woods? What do you prefer, man?
Everyone calls me Woods. There's too
Woods.
many Davids.
Fat fuck.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, Woods. Everyone I know, David, we don't call him David too, so that's
Right.
funny. Yeah, even my brother. So, all right, cool. Well, let's just start with a little introduction, man. Let's let everybody know kind of what you do, what your background is a little bit, and then we'll get into some conversation.
So I'm from Anchorage, Alaska. Currently live in Wapton. I currently live and teach in Wapton. I got 4 kids. Cody watched all those kids grow up, which is kind of crazy. But I'm a teacher. I'm a councilman in Wapton. Got my doctorate 2 years ago.
Oh wow!
Still hitting the weights. Still trying to do jack of all trades, but I'm master of none of them. So
That's how it works.
You went from being shot in Alaska to the king of Wapton.
it is what it is, right?
You got shot in Alaska?
I did. I got
They do it
shot.
like that in Alaska?
He's got a
No.
scar right here on his knee.
I don't even know if I have it anymore. This one's a different one, but
You got shot 2 times?
no. The other one is like a little kid getting, just being a klutz. This one right here, but the one I got shot, that one, it doesn't even look as pretty as this one. So yeah, it is a better story if I say I got shot with this scar right here. But
Gotcha.
7th grade drive-by shooting.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've been in a few of those.
Yeah, they shot in a group of kids. I was in 7th grade. There were some 6th graders out there, some high schoolers out there. Someone just came by.
So you weren't out there like thugging or nothing, looking for beef, and then someone came and got you,
nerd.
right?
I was
Okay.
a nerd. I was a nerd. So,
Right.
you know, that adrenaline pumping, you don't even know.
Yep.
You just hear that whizzing, like Saving Private Ryan, that first scene, that still kind of gets to me with those bullets whizzing by, because it's like, yo, that's what it's like. That's really what it's like. So,
Because you were going up for a layup, right?
I was going up for a layup, and one of the heads, because it was like a youth group, so it was the Boys and Girls Club, and we would go after school and play ball, and that's how all of us stayed out of trouble. So going up for a layup,
Damn,
someone
trying to
said,
stay out of trouble to playing ball, and then they just shoot you up anyway.
It's crazy.
That's
it's
wild.
crazy.
I didn't know Alaska got down like that, though. That's
Anchorage,
nuts, man.
Alaska is like
Still is.
almost 300 people.
Damn.
300,000, sorry.
Oh, I was
I
like,
was going to
what?
say, that's the whole game.
300,000 people live in Anchorage. It's a big city. It's like Minneapolis, but there's too many earthquakes, so
Okay.
they can't build up, so they got to spread out. And so a lot of people there, a lot of cultures there. One of the most diverse places in the world.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's actually a good segue, though, because one of the first things we want to talk to you about is, you're a teacher, and we want to talk a little bit about the gun violence right now in America, particularly in the schools.
Right.
And kind of get your thoughts and opinions on how you feel about teachers carrying in schools, because that's kind of a heavy topic right now in our country, politically anyway.
I'm for it. Like,
Yeah.
I would, if someone said, you know, you have a gun, I'm like, get the strap.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm going in irresponsibly or anything, but it's more, we got to protect ourselves.
Agreed.
I mean,
and
there's
the
a
kids.
lot of, and the kids.
I mean, if someone was holding when you got shot, they might have got caught up, right?
Yeah,
Do you know
well-
if they ever did?
There was a dude running from afar, and he was like coming, like he had his strap. He was chasing after, because they had to make 2 turns or whatever.
Okay.
So he was coming, trying to get them.
Oh, wow.
So they were out. They knew what was going to happen if they stuck around. So
Damn.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I think
How does everybody else feel in the school about that? Is it kind of mixed, or are you the outlier?
We never really even talked about it
Yeah.
within the district or anything, because it's realistically right now it's like a non-starter. Like nobody wants to talk about it or anything.
Isn't that the problem though?
I grew up different. Like I grew up in an environment where like
You got to have those
you
discussions.
gotta have those discussions.
Yeah.
You have to. So I've thought about that, me being who I am and me growing up in the environment that I am. When I heard that that was a possibility, it was like, okay, so this might go down. And would I be willing to do that? Heck yeah, I would. But I know around the country, there's two sides to look at it. There's a side where it's like, okay, I could have this on me. It makes me feel safe. It makes the kids feel safer. And then there's some teachers who are like, I shouldn't be demanded to do this. And I get it.
Yeah.
Not everyone grew up like I grew up, so.
And I don't think the discussion is based around everybody should carry
Right.
even, right? Like, especially someone who's intimidated, they definitely should not.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll make mistakes.
Right.
But there should be more armed people at the schools, whether it be armed guards, parents who want to play security that are, qualified to
Right.
do so, or teachers who are willing to step up and carry.
Right.
I'm all for it. I think for sure. Coming from I'm from LA, San Diego area,
Right.
like we had undercover detectives
It's
in our school
different.
all the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they were strapped. They had
Right.
drug dogs. Everything, you name it, we had it. The problem with the undercover was that nobody really knew who they were.
Right.
We speculated, but it was hard to tell because they were hooking up with students too.
Right.
So it was like,
Right.
damn.
Oh.
So yeah, there was, it's like a fine line, bro. You got to find the right people because it gets real sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
No, I think definitely that's a conversation that needs to be had eventually, because it just seems like every time it happens, the people talk about it for a while and then it just kind of goes away.
Well, here's the thing. That's the thing in education in general. And that's why people are so hesitant, because you'll get someone. So there's a bunch of people in Washington. There's a bunch of people in Bismarck. They have no idea what it's like to be in a classroom.
Yeah.
But they will say this should be policy. And that's the real fear, is that we know that, hey, not everybody has to carry, right?
Right.
It just has to be it just has to be out there that somebody in here is carrying. It's just like
Yeah.
9/11 when they had those marshals in.
yeah.
You didn't know who they were, but everybody was like, yo, and that's what they want in the school. But the policymakers, they'll say something like, everyone has to be strapped, or and people don't want to be. So a lot of people are
Yeah,
fearful of that.
because I think especially the opposers, it's like the marijuana bill for North Dakota, right? There's people who oppose it, and then there's people who are for it. The ones who oppose it still get a voice,
Right.
And so when the 1 year, a couple years ago when we voted on it, they wrote the bill in a way that no one would,
Right.
not even us
Right.
who wanted it, would be like, yeah, because it was written so poorly that no, you know what I mean? So that's the same concept. They're like,
Same
everybody, if
concept.
we're going to do it, everyone has to carry, because then you get everyone to be like, no.
Yeah.
Now you make conflict, and then you start to have arguments, and then all of a sudden nothing happens. And that's kind of the agenda. They want to make sure it doesn't come to the table
Right.
without saying, we don't want to do this.
Right. See that,
Yeah.
and that's important. As an English teacher, I look at those policies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I see what you did there.
Yep,
'Cause
yep.
it's rampant, and people don't read it. But those that read it know that words are powerful, and how you put it down on paper, and how people interpret it. It's everything.
Yeah.
But isn't it kind of crazy that the government invests all of their money in elsewhere, but they don't invest their money into school security?
Well, the question will always be, will it get them votes? I mean, that's the crazy thing. It's like, will it put whoever needs to be in?
So let me
office?
ask you this: who we have in the government right now care about kids in school,
No.
See, here's the thing. So here's my
or do they care
politician
more
side.
about gun control?
Here's my politician side. It's a weird balance, because if you want to enact change, you got to stay in that office, right? So how far you want to go to stay in that office, yet try to get that change, and the change is super incremental.
But then we're left with the same shit that we had the past fucking 200 years.
That's
We're
why
going
we have that
back
shit.
and forth.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
It takes us back to the whole theory of, look, first of all, if voting worked, they wouldn't let us do it. Right. So I don't think our voice actually fucking matters when it comes to shit like this. There's always going to be somebody pulling the strings behind the scenes and making sure things go the way they want them to or not.
Right.
And to the point of like talking about voting and the school districts and stuff, there's like a federal school board of some sort, right? Like up at the government level that kind of implements rules down to everybody, isn't there?
Here's the thing. Okay. Quick story. Here we go. education is the state's right.
Yeah.
So every state has their own way of funding or whatever education. Federal government oversees it in the fact that it has to be fair and equal. So if your rights are not being met, federal government can step in and say, "Hey, state, whatever." But anything else is local control. So North Dakota handles the education for these districts in North Dakota, except when money's involved. So No Child Left Behind. Federal government says, "Hey, you want this money? You got to follow the rules."
Yeah.
And the states are like, "Yeah, we like that money, right?"
Yep.
So then they take the money, and now they got to follow the rules. So there is no overarching federal board unless someone takes the money.
Got you.
So it
So all you got to do is throw a little money into something, and they can have the control.
unreal.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah, so it's just a big game, really, is what
unreal.
they do, and it's kind of it's like I was talking. School just got back in here for us, and so we're talking about all the things, like they give this list of shit that kids need for school, right? And we were talking because we know some parents now that are teachers and friends that are teachers and whatnot. Your girl's a teacher, and we're finding out that like a lot of the schools here locally, they get an overabundance of shit that they don't need, and then they throw it out every year.
Okay.
And the reasoning behind that is because they don't want to lose their funding. If you don't spend it, you'll lose it. So they spend it for no fucking reason and then just throw the shit out so that they don't lose their funding. Which is, it's kind of corrupt bullshit. If you think about it, it's like, man, if we don't spend the money on shit that we don't need, we'll lose the funding and then the budgets will be smaller. But yet they're only using the money for shit that we don't need anyway.
It's
so why
pretty
not
crazy.
lower the budget?
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, like who's giving that mandate down? And that's
Right.
mostly Bismarck.
Wow.
So the districts have their local control too, and Bismarck wants the individual districts to have local control. But and things like that with budgeting and policy,
Yeah.
there's so many pots. There are things that come from the federal level where the federal government says, "Hey, you have like 1, 2, 3 years to spend this, or you're gonna lose it." And then there's things from Bismarck where it's like, "Okay, you got 1, 2, 3 years to spend this, or else you're gonna lose it." And then you have those two pots communicating with each other as well. So everyone kind of has their hand in what's going on. You know what I mean? It's not like one entity that's totally sucks. It never is. There's always like way more to the story.
Right. And it's just like with politics, I'm sure things are leveraged and people are playing with each other's, situations to get people to swing and do different things with their votes. We got some flies in here that are really
these
distracting this
flies.
conversation. All right, let's jump into it then. Since we're on the school topic as well, another thing we want to get into. I want to talk just about the current state of kids in school, like where they're at, kind of what they're becoming. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we're in a situation where, like, I remember when I was young, everybody had a little bit of diversity. Did we have trends and we do things that everyone kind of did? Yes, but now it's to the point where with cancel culture and things like that involved, you either are or you aren't.
Right.
There's no in-betweens. There's no different genres of, kids and groups and things like that. Everyone is all-inclusive or a bad guy.
Right.
And that seems to be what it is. So, like, if you're not down with, let's just say, things like the gender neutrality and,
Furries.
the indoctrination and stuff that's going
Fucking furries. Tell me we don't have any.
Furries.
Do you have furries?
Do we have any in Wapton?
No,
We have any furries?
Here's the thing.
Oh, no.
Whoa. Here's
You
the
gotta
thing. with
answer that shit,
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing. So, yeah, we do. But what's been? But what every district does. Every
Yeah,
district.
I know.
You know what? The honest truth is,
Hold on.
it's always been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's always been there.
What we see.
This isn't a new thing.
Hold
Now-
on. Maybe we have to describe to the audience what a furry is.
Okay.
I want you to do it, Cody. I want to see. Go ahead, D.
Okay, Dion, you do it. You.
All right. A furry is a person who dresses like an animal. Basically, they'll wear a tail or ears,
Cat ears.
and they'll act as if they are partially an animal. Yeah. So
I've been hearing a lot.
Mainly
Of
Okay,
cats,
which
yeah.
is here's the thing, and you're right. It probably has always. I remember in high school there was a bunch of weird shit going on. Right.
Right.
Here's the difference, though. Now, as teachers and as adults and leaders of these kids, we're accepting and participating in this bullshit, though. And that's to me where it's weird. And it's actually being handed down. Like our government is gaslighting this bullshit and being like, "Hey, you have to. It's okay. We have to accept this or else, and you're one of the bad guys if not." And it's just really weird because it's like, yeah, if you kids are weird. Kids don't understand what the hell they're doing yet. I remember being weird as hell too when I was young, bro.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we didn't understand until we became adults. Now we look back as adults and we're like, what the fuck was I thinking back then, right? The difference now is you guys, the teachers and stuff like that, are being told how you have to deal with these situations. It's not a matter of you handling it the way it's supposed to be handled, or it's not even a matter of fucking factual science anymore when it comes to like gender neutrality and things like that. It's just like, accept it. This is what it is. We're going to implement. In fact, the military is giving classes on it now to help you guys understand it, because apparently you're dumb if you don't understand the shit. It's just weird to me.
Now,
I don't know.
see, here's where the doctoral side, here's where Dr. Woods comes in. So, yeah, it's always been there. We've been able to handle it in different ways. Before I was a teacher, teachers have been able to handle it in different ways. It's just crazy because some of the things that are being put out there just aren't true.
Yeah.
So, and that's the
True
hard
or
part.
false?
In your school or in
Yeah.
general?
True or
Well,
false?
Here's the thing. I can only speak for I can speak strongly for my district. I can speak, kind of for the state, and I can't speak for any other state.
Right. Okay.
But what I've seen is
You're talking about the litter box in Fargo.
yeah,
right?
that's not true. That's not even true.
I heard it was.
That's not even true. I'm yet to see it. That's not true.
I call cap.
what did you say?
Didn't your
Is it-
lady
is
say
it
it was
true?
true?
I call cap.
What did you
Do they
say?
have
The litter boxes in the
Fargo?
bathrooms in Fargo schools.
My lady did not.
Yeah,
that
see,
at all.
that's
No.
what
I
but-
call cap.
That's
but
crazy.
Here's the thing: is
call cap.
there were parents who were seriously upset, and they were like,
Yeah,
"Is
it was
this
all
coming
over
down
Facebook
to,
and shit. I remember that, yeah.
Is this coming
We
down?"
got
And they're
a child that's taking a shit in the litter box.
Imagine.
It's
Oh my
not
God,
janitor's
probably
closet.
crazy.
It's crazy. That's the craziest thing. Is, I sit back sometimes. And I'm like, this is nuts because
I
this
think
is
Cody
not
would have been a
even
furry
happening.
in high school
I
or some
think so
shit, or in
too.
junior high,
Dude,
man.
this dude
He
that
jumped
you
on
see
all the
right
trends. He
now,
told us.
Yeah, this
Skater
guy that
kid.
you see right now, unreal.
Woods, tell him the story.
Which one?
How I went from a dud to a stud.
Okay, so this jackass here, right?
man.
So comes up to me and he's like, "Yeah, I want to work out because I want to play football." Like we're in a high school, right? We're in a high
it
school
was a high
weight
school
room.
gym. Yep.
And so he's like, "Yeah, here's a skinny kid, totally a 100% dweeb." Like, I mean, it's where the teachers were like, "Oh, Cody Malk," like they kind of roll his eyes, like, "Okay, lovable Cody, he's kind of a jackass, but whatever." Right?
No, they still do that for Cody
You-
here. Yeah,
okay,
that's still the same. Yeah.
Nothing really changes, right? So I was like, all right, let's do this. So I take him. I try to kick his ass for like 2 days, like just put him through the ringer. Next day, after the first day, next day, I'm like, "You sore?" He's like, "Yeah." All right, cool. Then we do some legs or whatever. Okay, you sore? Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking he's not coming back because I'm like the weight room supervisor / football coach, whatever. This guy keeps coming back. Like, what the fuck? Like, okay, he's coming back. He's coming back. What else can I do? And that just kept going. Like he kept coming back, and I kept
never
kicking his
stopped.
ass, and
Yeah.
it never stopped. So then summer comes, and the old owner of the gym, she's from my hood. She's like, what?
It was
50
called
years?
Heavy Metal in Breckenridge.
Yeah,
It was actually like a huge bodybuilding gym back then.
I mean,
back in the day.
it was crazy. And so she's from Anchorage, Alaska, like my hood, 40 years before I was even born. So she's on my, and so Cody comes in here, and we kind of look at each other like this asshole. Look at this guy, whatever. But he kept coming back.
Yeah.
And so Kelly, the gym owner, she's like, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go for a bodybuilding competition. And I'm like, yeah, that's what's up. Right?
That'll end them.
Yeah. So we looking at each other, and now it's just a competition. Now it's me, him. It's like 3 other community members. It's two or three other students, and it just became a lifestyle, and it was absolutely nuts. So we go in, we text each other, and it was like, now there's 2.
That's crazy.
They're landing on the lens
Yeah, I know,
of the
it's not-
fucking camera.
It's not even like in a good spot to
Yeah.
hit them, so it's like
Fuck them up, Dion.
I can't. There's nowhere to hit them.
They know too.
They
They're
do.
like,
They're
yeah,
like,
hit this.
These
hit
guys
this
are
microphone.
stupid. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but he just kept coming back, and a lot of people actually ended up dropping, and it was me, him, and probably like 3 other people. So it was 5 people. Start out with 12. 5 people went through this competition, and it was awesome. And then he was bit. I mean, he was starting to get beyond me, and I was trying to beat him in certain lifts and shit. And I'm like, damn, I'm getting older. And
I remember back then when I was like just chasing the weights, like how heavy. I was like, oh, he's gonna do 200 pounds. I'm gonna do 250 or whatever. And I was just constantly just trying to get as heavy as I could.
And I was sitting there, I was saying like, yo, when you get older, you watch, you're gonna have to lift smarter, not harder. And he's like, oh, I won't even care. And he come in with KFC, he eat a famous bowl.
Famous bowls, baby.
I'm over here warming up on a treadmill. He's eating a famous bowl. He's finishing. He's like, what can I lift? And I'm like, what are you doing right now? He's just getting bigger and stronger. And I'm like, this guy over here. But my wife looks at him like,
I straight up would come in with Big Macs, and I would eat 4 Big Macs before we worked out.
unreal. It was unreal. So then
So you've always eaten like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
my wife was like, hey, you got to come over because, like, number 1, you're stupid. And number 2, you don't have any women, which, like, if you wanted good stories, yeah, I got good stories about his women. But anyway, let's just say Kate saved him. Yeah. I love Kate.
Bro,
for that.
I was clapping cheeks. What are you talking about?
Dude, you were clapping your hands. That's what.
Oh man.
No, but he came over and she taught him how to make what the hell was it? Meatloaf. Taught him how to make meatloaf. And this guy, like, he left with like frozen packages of meatloaf, and I think that
Pounds of it.
I think it was gone in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's
coming
wild.
back. So yeah, it was just. I mean, it was good. It was good for both of us because, like, I was looking for that person, he was looking for that person,
Yeah.
and then we just like. And he played football in senior year, and he sucked, but he played. I mean, he played. He didn't get hurt.
right.
He was one of the biggest guys.
He was a
playing
body.
running
He
back.
was a body.
Probably the most in shape.
Yeah. He
That's
was playing
definitely-
running back. He was trying, like, they give him the ball. He didn't know what the hell to do. He was trying to run over whoever. He didn't care who was in front. It was like, what is he doing? If you want him to hit hole A, give him the ball. Other than that,
That is funny.
you don't know
I
what
can
the
see.
hell
I
he's
can
doing.
see all that shit too, man. That's hilarious.
Nah, it was good though, because it was something where, like, he needed it at that time, I needed it at that time.
I remember when Woods, hey, don't let all the fluff fool you. When he showed up, dude, he was like fucking 8% body fat, like 250 pounds. I don't know how heavy you were, but you were just like fucking huge and shredded when you first showed up to the school.
I was.
So,
Fatherhood hit me.
all the kids were like, "What the fuck?" This huge jacked black guy
Black
walks
guy
in.
comes in.
A school full of white kids. I like nobody's ever actually like seen somebody like that big, like being as a kid
Or black.
somebody that big. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is in Wahpeton? How bad is the racism there? I hear a lot of stories about it's just crazy racism.
He hears
there.
it from mainly from one person.
Like, here's the thing. So it's a little more covert than overt. You know what I mean? It's not like out there or anything, but it's
They're not
like,
out there marching in
yeah,
cape
they're
and
not
gown and shit.
burning
Right.
down shit.
Right.
You know, but,
Crosses. Just like-
I mean, here's what I say. So even back then, so I came to North Dakota in
Fucking got
1998. Well, you think you Karate Kid now. I bet he don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. See, that's the thing now with teaching is I say things
Wax
like
on, wax off, bitch.
He-Man and Karate Kid, and these kids are like, "What are you talking about?"
We got a kid at our gym that works there right now. He didn't know who Clark Kent was.
That's crazy.
And I said, Clark Kent is fucking Superman. You don't know that? He's like, oh, I think I know who Superman is. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
I'm done.
That doesn't make sense.
That's
It's
crazy
over.
to me, bro. That's
Yeah.
crazy to me.
So, like when I came to North Dakota, it was 1998, and there were barely any black people here. I mean, I went to Valley City State University. We all the people of color sat at the same table.
Damn.
That's some segregation by your guys' part.
You know what? It had to happen.
We're doing it again, though.
It had
We're
to
doing
happen.
it again.
Like, like minds, they just come together. That's what it is, and we have similar backgrounds and we can identify.
Yeah,
with
but
each
you hung
other.
out with like all the football players too.
What?
Didn't you hang out with all the football players too?
Dude, we were all of color.
The whole, not the whole
Like
team.
not all of us, but
Yeah,
like
you had some white
All right,
guys
so
on
The
there.
ones that were good.
So I'm just barely catching something here. Your relationship wasn't a student teacher relationship in the beginning.
no.
You were
like-
a student.
He was no.
No, I was a teacher.
Oh, okay, okay.
And he was a student.
Okay,
How
since the
old are
beginning
you?
then.
I'm 42 right
42?
Yeah, what
Okay.
the fuck, dude.
I was gonna
No,
say.
that's what I was saying. I was tripping because I always assumed, I always thought it was like a student
So-
teacher thing.
so what-
But then
yeah.
it started sounding like he's hanging out with people and shit. And like I'm picturing him in the lunch quad at the bench with all the
yeah.
black dudes only and shit. And I'm just like,
No,
wait a minute.
No, that,
okay,
that
so
was in college.
Yeah,
Oh,
he went
got
to
you, got
Valley
you, got
State.
you, got-
He
okay.
actually played football there
okay.
at Valley State.
So, like, the relationship with Cody and I is crazy because, like, I went to his mom's house. I went to his dad's house. I mean, it was like, and they started to see the change in him too. So it was just like organic. It was like, okay, we meet at the gym. We do this. You know what I mean? It was like from that time, we were just brothers. You know what I mean? So it was, but, what was I talking about before that?
You were racist in
Oh,
college.
that's right. Okay, so we were all
Reverse racism.
like we're all sitting at the same table because like we just identify with each other, and so we just gravitated towards each other. But there was a lot of ignorance, and I think sometimes we confuse racism with ignorance.
Oh, for sure. I think a lot now these days, especially.
It's rampant. North Dakota has a lot of ignorance still, and our demographic has got. In 1998, I would drive to Fargo because they ain't crap in Valley City at the time. So I drive to Fargo for fun, and I'd be with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and I'm like, okay, there's like a black dude on the corner, like. Let me say what's up because you know what I mean. Like we would walk in West Acres.
Hey, what's up, homie?
We would walk in West Acres, and I would come in contact with a person of color, and we would just like get a head nod. You know what the head
That's
nod?
crazy
You know
because-
what the head
yeah,
nod?
So
is.
I came here for the first time in '99
Dion does
after
it.
I
I
graduated high
No,
school.
you're
Every
right.
time.
And so I was here for like 8 months, and it was the same feels. It
Yep.
was like there was no like races. It was all like white people as
Yep.
far as every time. And I would run into a few people every now and again. I'd be like, oh, there's a Mexican. Now they're
Right.
native.
right.
They were native. I'd be like, what's up, homie? They'd be like, hey.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, oh fuck, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, but that's how, I mean, 98, 99, that's how it was. Like, there was no 32nd Avenue. Like, everyone was hanging
Yeah.
out at West Acres.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a different time. So,
No crime, no
nothing.
gangs, nothing, bro. It was so like
It was-
weird for me when I came here.
like people are getting out of their cars at West Acres. I mean, the big thing was
Leaving them unlocked,
yeah,
running and shit while
they
they're
were
in the
getting
mall.
a food court. Like
Yeah.
we're getting a food court, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I remember that.
real talk. That's what excites you. Is you're getting a food court. I mean, you sit back there and you listen to the news, and it was like, and then today's news, they're almost done with the food court. See you tomorrow. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah. So it was a huge culture shock, but what I started to realize was it was as big as a culture shock for them as it was for me.
Yeah.
And they were like mad ignorant. Like, okay, here's a story. So I'm in Valley City. I walked the levers and I'm getting my stuff. I'm broke. So I'm getting like cans of peas and ramen and all. And this is before school started. So I'm trying to get my food, and this kid is just looking at me with his mouth open. I mean, like, just staring at me. And you know, at first you're like, okay, kid,
Wait a minute. What,
you know
what do you look like? What do
oh,
you-
he's white.
no. Like, do the expression.
Like, and so I would move. We're in the same aisle, so I will move a little to the side, and he wouldn't say anything. And his mom's back was turned. I mean, you couldn't write this better in a movie, right? And I go to the other side, and he goes over there too, and I look at him, and I'm like, "You want to feel my skin?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Oh shit!
Yeah. So
Oh,
he did.
shit.
And his mom was mortified. She was embarrassed more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, because Valley City is a football town. So there were other black people there before me. But like, this kid never had an interaction with one.
I mean, they go there to play sports.
They
That's
go
what
there
it
to
is.
play sports. Right. So,
Damn.
I mean, I've had, and this isn't for everyone, but I've had people back in the day feel my hair, feel my skin. You know what I mean? Because like, my thing is this, and not everybody feels this way. Like, I was destined to come to North Dakota. You know what I
feel the
mean?
same.
And I was destined
Yep,
to come to
yep.
North Dakota for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can tell. The funny thing about you, John, is you can tell who has that insight that they were destined to come because you can see their grind. And when you see their grind, you know, you ask yourself like, what the hell are they grinding for? And they're grinding because like, people need to see a person of color be a CEO, be a business owner, be a community member. It's the same reason why I'm like the same reason why I'm teaching. I'm a dean of students. I got my doctorate. On the city
This
council.
culture needs to witness it
They
happen.
need
Like where
to
we come from
witness
is a
it.
dime a dozen.
Right.
People are hustling, grinding,
Right.
becoming teachers, you know, evolving and stuff like
Right.
that. But here, it's like they're having epiphanies when they
Right.
see it. Yeah, they're
Right.
like, wait, what?
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes it's negative and sometimes it's positive
Right.
though too. I've experienced a lot of that. Like
Right.
I get a lot of people where they never say it directly, like you said. It's the it's more covert than anything.
Yep.
But you can tell that they're looking at me like, why are you in this position?
Right.
Like why do you own a gym?
What did you do?
Yeah, you know, like, and I've heard the stories that, you know, I come from mafia money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
the gang shit's funding, and like, I've heard it all, bro, about
Yep.
me. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. But
He's thugging.
as long as you're talking about me, I'm cool with it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I've learned to accept it.
And that's the thing that's really important because, you know, that generation after us, I mean, they're going to have it way easier. But that's the thing is like, I was destined to be here. My interaction with Cody only instilled that.
Yeah.
Like we would have, I mean, the weight game is the weight game. And when you're in a weight game, you have deep conversations. I mean, it's either in the gym or in the bar. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or you
Yeah.
have those deep conversations. So we would talk about
And Cody
a
does
lot.
both to the extreme.
Yo,
That's the truth.
there's a couple times I had to pull him back, but yeah, that's the thing is like Cody was just that first. Yeah, you're supposed to be in this spot, so do what you can here.
Nice. Legit.
That's crazy because like even nowadays, and I am from here for the most part. Like I'll nod at a person of color and they'll nod back to me. It's just something I learned from my dad, I guess.
Yeah.
And then also with that,
Did you ever get a head tilt like,
they're like,
Like they weren't sure.
I don't know.
aren't you Middle Eastern?
Yeah, so it goes both ways. And then also my little brother actually just started college at NDSCS, so we went and we toured that, and that was very interesting. There's a lot of people of color that play sports there, but the people that are going to be in the stands tend to be white.
So here's the thing. I thought I saw you. I think I drove by when you guys were
must
down there. I
have
was going to the gym.
That's
and I'm
crazy.
like, I know. So that's how it is in Wampton, right?
Yeah.
So, but they are the people in North Dakota, and some people will disagree with me on this, but for the most part, the people in North Dakota will judge you like how you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
agree.
it's really important, and that's what I tell students. It's a funny thing, and I don't think they'll mind me mentioning it, but just the other day I talked to a bunch of people at NDSCS, and I said, okay, what can we do for people of color that go to this college that will make them feel a part of this community?
It's tough.
because North Dakota's a hard nut to crack,
Yeah.
right? So in the smaller the town you go, the worse it is.
Yeah.
I know what you could do. Join the National Guard.
Right. Plug. but they have,
So let me play the devil's advocate to that
yeah,
a little bit.
yeah.
Because in the times that we're in right now, especially with, it's black against white again,
Right.
the racism's, on an all time high,
Right.
verbally speaking,
Right.
The BLM, the riots, all that stuff has come into play. What would you say, in the sense of making it, what was the terminology you just used, like to make it more oriented for black people?
Oh,
Make them feel more at home.
Make them feel more at home.
welcome.
Yeah. Like what, other than, and this is me playing devil's advocate, looking for equality. What more do we want to see there to make blacks feel more at home in this community of white people?
Well, this is how I explained it. So I will have 3 people of color in the room. And both of you, I'm going to tell a story and tell me if your story is way different than the story I'm going to tell. Come to North Dakota. This is not your culture. You don't know anyone. You're trying to figure yourself out. You come from a place that is culturally totally different and you're not understanding what the hell is going on right now. The food sucks and you're wondering if you should leave. Is that any different? Is your story different from those things?
Dion's
I
like,
think
Mine is
so.
definitely.
Mine is
like-
a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But because I guess from where I come from, I have a pretty mixed family, right? So I already don't see the lines. I already don't see the cultural differences. Because like my rebuttal to that would be, okay, well, what about all the down ass white boys I grew up in the hood with that come here? They don't need to see black culture here. They just need to feel comfortable too, right? So the way you feel comfortable is you fucking adapt. You adapt to where you go. If a white person went to the hood, they wouldn't be able to change it and make it more white. You know what I mean? So like there's those cultural differences that I think we instead of blurring the lines, which is what we should be doing when we're trying to create equality, I think we're drawing the line harder in that sense sometimes.
So listen, this is what I want.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
this is what doesn't happen.
Right.
Right. And then we have all these kids, like students, high school students, college students in the middle who don't quite understand what the hell's going on because no one's having these conversations.
For sure.
Right. So for me, I just say, I get it. It's not necessarily right now we see it more with the people of color. Right. But it doesn't just have to do with the people of color. It's the culture. So then the question becomes, because for me, and I don't know how it is for you guys, if I go back to my hood, I'm not down like I was down there. I'm college dude. Like I'm Bryant Gumbel coming back. And I don't know if you guys know who that is. That's the
I know,
old
but
newscaster.
so that's like calling you an Uncle Tom or
Thank you.
yeah.
Right.
But so now isn't that reverse racism?
It can be, but the student, what I'm worried about is the students understanding that what they perceive as, okay, so I'll just use me. What I perceived as blackness wasn't blackness.
Right.
Because I perceived a more monolithic, a more one-sided show of blackness. And I didn't understand what it was. See, right now, you're defining what it is to be Latino, right? And and we're all defining
Middle Eastern.
Yeah, we're all defining.
Middle Eastern at
I
all.
know, I know. Because this guy right here, So that's why I cut it short because I'm like, this guy over here. But we're like defining what it is now, and I think a lot of kids when they come here, they're stuck with, do I assimilate or do I die?
Yeah.
Because if I assimilate, if I fully get this degree, if I fully immerse myself in this culture, I might lose my identity back home. Yeah. And I don't know if I can go home. See, you'll see a lot of professional sports athletes. That's what they struggle with.
Yeah.
They're struggling with their identity. They're like, no. I made it, but I'm still hood.
That's important to point out that I guess most people don't ever
No,
even think
that's
don't
a real
about that.
thing. It
Yeah.
is. It's a struggle for sure.
And
I
that's why
agree.
they say like you can't go back home. You know what I mean? And people struggle with that. So now
And then how do you be a leader to your culture then if that's the case too, right? Like
Right.
How do we set the example?
Yeah,
right?
like,
Because the second you make it, like
have
I
to
get it
sell
all the time,
yourself.
bro. Like I have family members personally
Right.
and homeboys, and my family's mixed, bro. We're black and Mexicans.
Yep.
But I get called a goody two shoe,
Yep.
bougie,
Yep.
or I've lived in North Dakota too long.
Yep.
I get told that all. I came here as an adult, first of all, right?
Yep.
But I've lived in North Dakota too long. I'm racist.
Oh, you speak
know,
proper now, huh?
yeah. I get all that shit, bro. But it's like, but here's the thing to me, like, why does our culture have to be hood?
Right.
Just because we're now, I get why we're there. I understand that, and that's a whole political, conversation. Now,
Yep.
I know why our people come from poverty and from the hood, and I know why we're still there. And a lot of it has to do with because we're still buying the bullshit the government's feeding us. That all of this bullshit exists, and it doesn't exist the way that they're saying it exists. It exists in the mind because we create
Right.
it. You know what I mean? And I tell everyone, like, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. I know more racist minorities than I do white people. And I know more racist minorities openly telling people that they can't stand white people.
Right.
I've never had a white dude come to me and be like, I can't stand your people.
Yep.
But all my homeboys will be like,
Yep.
man, fuck that white boy. Fuck white people. Fuck that honky. You know, and it's just like, we're not getting anywhere with this shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I
Right.
come from the hood, bro. Like my whole family's gang related. You know what I mean? I
Right.
come from that shit and I don't see it the way they do.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. Like you hit the nail on the head. You start to travel, you start to look at things, you start to interact with people, you get different perspectives, and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't like I've been told all my life, And so the reason why, to go back to your question, the reason why it is because we all suffer from an identity crisis.
Sure,
like we don't know who we are. We have defined ourselves by either what the government has said, and I hate using that term government because I know like the three, whatever. But anyway, but what we were told by media and everything. I mean, even MTV is guilty of this. BET is guilty of this. You know, they just say, this is what blackness is.
Well, because
This
it's
what
white
it is
people
to
who
be.
own BET teaching it.
Right? So whatever sells.
Yeah.
But we don't know that, we don't understand that like a lot of our rappers went to school.
Right.
A lot of them went to,
There's just a
performing
character
arts.
they're
It's
playing.
just a character, and we are accepting that character.
Or half of them grew up rich and their parents were the former ghetto rappers, that
Right.
made it big, and now they've lived with a silver. Like let's look at
Like
T.I.
T.I., I
son
was
for
gonna say,
example.
T.I.'s
He's
son.
out here making a
The
fool of
Weeknd.
himself right now. The Weeknd, all these cats, all these cats
They're
right
all-
now,
and they all
Will
put on
Smith's
that-
kids,
right.
everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they're all hood because they're black or they're minority or whatever.
Right.
The other thing is our own people, right? Like like you said, if we succeed, we can't go back to the hood because now we're an Uncle Tom,
Yep.
right? Or we're
Right.
we're something other than what we actually are because we do good. That's where the problem lies for
Right.
us. I think is the biggest issue because I've never had a white dude intimidate me by the way he dislikes me from succeeding at what I wanted.
Right.
It's more of my motivation than anything. But when my own people fucking turn on me and say like, oh, look at you,
It hurts.
bougie, you're this, I start to like go, wait, what?
Yep.
Like how the fuck is, like that doesn't even make sense.
Yep.
That should be everybody's goal and
Right.
ambition is get, like I got brothers and sisters who for lack of a better term are still doing the same old shit.
Right.
I got family in general that are just doing the same old shit.
Right.
And the excuse is, well, this is how we grew up. It's all we know. And,
Right.
and I'm always like, I grew up in the same fucking place. In fact, amongst my siblings, I was the worst. I lived in the streets, bro. Like nobody could tell me shit.
Right.
But yet here I am.
Right.
So it's like I don't like hearing those kind of excuses, So I take a
Yeah.
lot of issue, and I know my own people look at me sideways sometimes when I talk about these topics. But what are they doing different? What have they done to evolve their understanding about what's truly going on and what's cultural and what's not cultural, other than to sit here in the hood and point fingers at everyone
Right.
trying to make it out?
And then when you guide them, it's like they're offended.
Yeah,
Like you give them advice and they're offended.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, dude.
I know it's
That's
a
what I
struggle.
mean.
It's a struggle.
And so when I look at, education as a whole, right? Because I know you wanted to touch on that. So education as a whole, we got kids that have identity crisis.
Yeah.
and that is leading to a lot of mental health crisis. And so it just keeps compounding on each other. And so how are we going to teach these kids? How am I going to tell them to read this novel if they can't identify with it through their lens? And so these are some of the things that I think are the problem with education, other than the fact that we also got rid of, like the teen center or the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA. Like that
Can't
was
call
like
it Boys and Girls Club anymore.
Can you? Is that true? Shut up.
I'm just saying.
I think they would be lashing.
You're on the fucking trajectory of not being able to say boys and girls. It's people club.
People's Club.
Probably.
Fuck,
I don't know.
The Furries Club.
That's my dissertation though.
Yeah.
Was like transgender athletes. That's my study. So underrepresented populations, that includes LGBTQA.
How do you feel about them wanting to include pedophilia as a sexual orientation?
That's crazy.
Right? Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I mean, we are getting to a point where we're starting to, we're like, I don't necessarily believe how you guys believe, because you probably will be shocked with what I tell you, but we're getting to the point where we don't critically think anymore.
Oh, fuck no. Not at all.
You know what I mean? So, okay, we accept these and now we have to accept pedophilia. No, that's not.
Right.
That's a
So we're just
non-starter.
supposed to
That is a
accept
non-starter.
the social standard
So-
rather than child's education, right? You got to accept what's going on around the kids.
Well,
rather
here's the
than
thing.
Focus on their learning abilities.
That's true.
That seems like that's
but
more
in
important.
But in the past, if you were an outsider, you were just a weirdo and you probably weren't going to graduate anyway. So you were written off in the past.
Yeah.
And we can no longer do that.
Normalcy, for lack of a better word, is the outsider now. You have to be completely weird and wayward thinking now to be considered the it crowd.
Right.
Because all of the it crowd, they do the, he, him, and the she, her, and all, and I don't have any issues with that stuff. Honestly, I don't give a fuck about, if you're gay, straight, I don't never have, or I shouldn't say never have. I learned to accept it when I moved here. Coming from back home, it was completely unacceptable.
Right.
Yeah. But I understand it, I get it, and I don't judge it until you force feed it to me and my family. Like, my kids will decide what they want to do and how they want to do it when they grow up. I don't want them learning it in the schools any more than I don't want them being taught how race works either. You know what I mean? Because that's part of the indoctrination we're seeing now too. Is we're spinning things. So here's what I hate. I hate seeing white people wash the feet of minorities, get on their knees and beg for forgiveness, and fear minorities so they kiss ass.
Right.
Like that to me irritates me. I've had people come up and be like, "I'm so sorry about the shit you guys have to deal with in this country that's going on right now." And I'm like, what do you mean? What kind of racist remark was that? Like, what do you mean you're sorry for me? Why? How am I different?
Right.
Most of the people I know, I'm succeeding more than them right now in life. You know what I mean? And that was a struggle for me to get to and realize my potential to do so. But the fact that it's like wrong now to not think the same way as everybody else. You can't have your own opinion. The indoctrination is coming hard at race. I feel like taking blacks out of mainstream America is backwards. I feel like taking Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben out of the grocery stores and every major grocery store in the country is backwards progress. Because now we're saying black love, which is dope, black business only, support only blacks. That's segregation all over again. Before you know it, they're going to have black bathrooms only again, and black faucets only again. Only this time they've tricked us into thinking we're doing it for the betterment of ourselves. But it's not. It's segregation again. Except now the white kids are rooting it on, and before when the white kids rooted it on, it was called like a KKK rally.
Right.
Now it's support.
Right.
And that's weird to me. I don't get that part. Because now you can't see black faces anywhere in mainstream America unless the black person opens the business and produces it.
See, and that's...
We're erasing
It's a
history.
lot. It's a
There's
lot
a lot
to
to unpack. I
It's
know
a lot
for
to
sure.
unpack, yeah.
And I like to just go direct at the issue because why pussyfoot around it? In your opinion, do you agree that we're removing the black successors from history out of culture and erasing it altogether? Because now you only can see black in black owned anything.
I think the pendulum has swung too far. I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, they went over the top with
Yeah,
it.
I think
I get that we needed some
Right.
some regulation.
Right.
And there were some issues at hand.
Right.
But I feel like the government got a hold of it back when the BLM riots and everything were going on, and they took it to another level.
Right.
To fulfill their agenda, because as you notice, they've not fulfilled anything they promised to get the vote.
No.
They promised all the shit to
No.
get the vote. They allowed the riots to go on and destroy cities to get the vote. They made it seem like it was necessary to do those things because they needed to get stuff.
right.
But then nothing happened.
And the
See, the
founders.
thing when I look at, so let's just take identity or whatever. When I did the study, one of the things I tried to do was look at it as, okay, when they say that a person can't do this, I try to replace it with a minority name, so black. And then I test it against the law. And then you start to find that some of the things are discriminatory. You know what I mean? And it was a shocker to me. So if there's a bathroom, and now you'll see that a lot of schools, and I heard there's a school, I think there's a school in Fargo that, they have bathroom, like separate bathroom stalls instead of just
I've
men
heard that
and
as well.
women,
Yep.
right? So if that doesn't happen, and we just have men bathroom, women bathroom, and someone says that they don't identify. Now here's the
Bro,
tough
you don't want
part.
to sit next down to me, man, when I'm taking
No,
a shit.
true. Here's the tough part though, is it the question that has to be concentrated on is it discriminatory to not supply it?
No.
It's either law says it is.
I know, but the law is bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at least there. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
But
That's what I mean. That's what indoctrination is, though. It's tricking people into believing something that's not factual. And when the law says it doesn't mean that doesn't make it gold.
Right.
You know what I mean? That just means that's somebody, and in most case scenarios, a powerful white man
right.
implemented that law on behalf of the cultures.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
like, how the fuck do you know what we're looking for?
Right.
Right?
But now we have entities who are public entities who are taking public money who are now the battleground.
Like BLM?
schools. No, like schools.
yeah,
like
I got
schools
you.
have to go by the law. So if the law says that that's discriminatory, that's what it is.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of misconception comes in terms of the school is that, we're bound by law.
Yeah.
And we can't say anything different. I don't care if you're the superintendent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You gotta, if they say that not having a separate bathroom is discriminatory, then it is what it is. Because
Yeah,
then you can lose funding. You don't follow the law, you lose funding, whether federal or state.
I think we need to start going private then.
No, it's not. Charter schools are illegal in North Dakota, but private schools are
But
not.
now
And
you
can go
do
private.
that. But if you do that now, do you exclude
Yes.
a whole genre of
Yes.
human beings, because now when you get into that, now you have real issues though. Now
Yes.
you're talking real problems and real racial problems, because factually minorities are more known for being in poverty than anybody else, right? So now you do private schools, and now it's in favor of the white race.
haves.
You know what I mean? They're the haves, so to speak. So yeah, it's there's
Well,
really
then it would be affordable private.
right,
It's
but
not.
this is why I'm saying we got to ride the middle ground or the happy medium, so to speak. And I think that the happy medium is just leave everybody the fuck alone. We were doing good before 2020.
Yeah.
For we were doing good for the sake of the way things are now. Things are way worse than they were before we were told how bad they really actually were. And then they highlighted it, they promoted it, they ran marketing campaigns on it, just like COVID. Look at COVID now. They stopped talking about it, and all of a sudden motherfuckers get COVID and they're just like, I'm sick. But, a year ago when somebody got COVID, they're like, fuck, I might die. I'm
They were
scared.
a
What do I do?
leper.
Get me into the
Yeah.
hospital. Stay away from it. You can't go to work. Now they're like, if you get COVID and you're asymptomatic, you don't have to stay home anymore. You don't have to miss school. You don't have to do nothing. It's just like, and they stopped talking about it. And we're supposed to believe that they found a cure for it and it went away. But we just stopped talking about it.
But have we in all those situations that you explained, is it a trick or have we not done our due diligence and research?
It's probably both.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, I think it's both for
like
sure.
when we start talking about, indoctrination, when we use the term indoctrination in schools, it's like it's the chicken or the egg. I mean, those school board members have to be voted in,
Yeah.
right? And that governor has to be voted in, and that mayor has to be voted in. So, like,
But
yeah,
does voting work?
I think it does.
Really?
Here's the thing, and I say this, I always say this tongue in cheek. I got a lot of people who are not of color to vote me into office. That's unreal
Yeah.
for me. And I'm like, I'm not even sure if I'm the first black councilman.
Do you think
be
that they
in
did it
North
because
Dakota.
they all believe you legitimately belong there, or because they felt sorry for you and wanted to put someone there to not be judged?
They legitimately.
That's what bothers me,
Yeah,
right? Like the
I
president
get it.
saying, "I'm only
I
going to
get
hire
it.
a black woman for this."
I get
seat.
it.
Like that's like
Yep.
bullshit to me. That's
That's
offensive.
pretty racist.
Yes.
It's offensive though. It's really offensive. It's like, look, you don't necessarily qualify, but because luckily you're black
And a woman.
this
Right.
is your position. And
Right.
you know what? We're not going to fire you before we fire any of these white people either. I wouldn't be proud of that, man.
I know, but a lot of people, like, me personally, if that's why I was voted in, I'd be out.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? I personally couldn't live with that, or I would have to take a really critical look at it because
Right.
here's the thing. I got into office so every other person of color can walk down the
Hell
street
yeah.
and say,
Hell yeah.
that brother is a councilman
Yup.
and he's a doctor. That I didn't want to go into administration. A lot of people are like, why are you not principal? I don't want it, at least not at this time.
Right. Because then they're going to try to play your hand for you.
And I
They'll
don't want to
control
be
you.
anyone's
Yeah.
mouthpiece,
Right,
right?
right,
I am
right.
more powerful right
Hell
now
yeah.
than I
Love
would
that.
be if I was at the top, right? So that's the thing. If someone voted me in because I was black, like Barack Obama, listen, he got in because he was black. First
Hell
time
yeah.
going
Yeah.
through.
He didn't do
I was
shit for black
Yo,
people.
I was
Not a
first
thing.
in line. I'm like, yo, we
the
at least
whole
got to get
country.
a
Everybody
Yeah, the
was,
whole
we
yeah.
got to get a perspective,
And
right?
they played it obviously in our hands. They said he could be the first black
Black
president,
president.
and everyone was
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
And
no
I
one
was
said
like,
nothing
yep.
about his qualifications, why he
Nothing.
was the greatest, all the awesome shit he was going to
Yeah.
do for
Yep.
not just culture. Like when they start saying, imagine all the things this black man will do for black people. I was like, yeah, but he's not the president of the black United States.
Right.
He's the president of the entire United
Right.
States. So what is he going to do for the country as a whole? Right? We always divide.
And that was a huge misconception.
Yeah.
It really was.
Oh, hell
So
yeah.
whether he got in or not, they had to respect some type of perspective that he was going to bring, and it wasn't going to be the same perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have this thing where you have to step back and say, okay, maybe I got in because I'm black. Now what am I going to do? Because now if you got in because you're black, now you represent blacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
for
what I
sure,
mean?
for sure.
Like,
You better
So
not
still
fuck
gotta
up.
do
You better
work.
not
Yeah, you
fuck
still got to
this
do
up.
work, though.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You gotta
regardless
do
of why
work.
you're there, now you still got to
now
do
you
work.
still
bro.
got to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
I get it when it's like the first or whatever. It does rub me the wrong way when it's like, okay, you got to have this person because they're black or whatever. But here's the thing. I've been playing that role since I stepped foot in North Dakota.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like the only black teacher in Fargo, only black teacher in Wapton, only black, you know what
And
I
they
mean?
didn't
So
handpick you. You stepped up to the plate and got your
I
votes.
stepped up to the
Yeah,
plate. Like
yeah.
there's too many of my demographic, of our demographic out there to not do it. And here's the crazy thing. Cody got an inside look of an education that very few people got.
Yeah.
I mean, he's heard the plight of the black man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like we were lifting, and I'm like sitting there and I'm just telling him stuff and he's telling me stuff, and we're just like battling. Like we would lift and debate
Yeah.
Oh man, for hours.
for hours. I mean, it was crazy. I go to the gym now and I'm out in 45 minutes and I'm like, did I even work out? No, I was talking shit to Cody going back and forth, and we'd be in the gym for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But that's important because even now he's called me and asked me some questions like, wait a minute, is this how it's supposed to go? And I'm like, okay.
when I was in DC.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so
Oh, I didn't know he was going to tell a story. Okay.
well, so the part of DC that I was staying in was Andrews, and it's in a really poor neighborhood. There's a base, and then it's just surrounded by poor people, mainly black. So it was heavily black, and I would say Latino, a little bit of Latino people. But the gym that I would go to, obviously, I told you guys this. It was all black. Like I was like I walked in there, was the only white guy in there. And so like I would call every time I would see something that I wouldn't understand about a black guy doing something or a black woman doing something, I would call him and I'd be like, "Hey Woods, what's going on with this? Like why does this person do this?" Because I was working out and there was a black girl next to me and she had a headscarf on.
Yeah.
And like I would see that all over the gym. Like these black women would wear these like scarves on their heads. And I was like, what the fuck? What is going on with that? I was like, why is she wearing that?
Talking about bandanas?
No.
Do-rag. It was do-rag.
Okay.
Yeah, it was do-rag.
I was like,
You thought do-rags were a gangster fashion trend,
Well,
huh?
some of them are bandanas. Sometimes they do use
Okay, I was
bandanas.
gonna say.
It looked more eloquent than a do-rag. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't-
Right.
It wasn't like it was just black.
It's similar
or whatever.
concept though. It's
Yeah.
it's what,
It was.
yeah,
It
yeah.
had like a pattern and stuff on there, but and so I would call him and ask him like stuff like that. And I was like, this white kid that doesn't know any shit.
But there you go. That's a cultural difference
Yeah.
of
Right.
here and anywhere else
Right,
too.
yes.
It's like, you know what I mean? So when we come here, like when we say that it's culture shock, it's not a joke, but it's not to say that your culture or our culture is right or wrong necessarily. It's just different.
That's what's
Right.
important.
Yeah.
So then when I approached science school, that's what I said. I'm like, listen, you have, let's take the headpiece for example. I've gotten asked by more principals in admin in general, like, okay, we have a hat policy, but
Oh yeah.
what do I do with? And I'm like, you better leave that sister alone. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want what's under that rag.
Yeah.
So like whatever.
Hey, I noticed this a lot lately in schools. They let kids wear hats all over now.
Yeah.
That was so weird to me because in school, like when I went to school, there was no hats.
So my dad's
They
military.
let them wear sports teams again now too.
Yeah.
They didn't used to do that. Yeah.
You could not wear Raider stuff in school.
That's it.
Like, I mean,
Oh,
back in the
then.
day.
Yeah,
Oh,
Dallas Cowboys and Raiders were like the forbidden where I come from.
You're
yeah.
in a gang
That
if
was
you
gang.
wore that.
Yeah,
Oh,
no one.
yeah. That was
no
in
one,
Anchorage,
No
too.
one wore that shit because they were fans, bro.
Yeah,
We wore that
nope.
shit because it was gang
San
related.
Francisco 49ers, that was
Yup,
gang related
yup,
too.
yup.
Yep. So, I mean, that's the thing is, if he's asking those questions, how many other people are walking
Right,
around
right,
asking it? And now I'm getting questions from administrators saying, how do we do this?
Yeah.
Do we do? And so those one size fit all blanket policies,
just doesn't work.
it just doesn't work anymore. I mean, it's funny because we always go back and we tell stories about, stuff we've talked about or whatever, but realistically, those are the educational pieces that everyone needs
Yeah.
in North Dakota. Like a lot of people are still in North Dakota and have never seen a person of color
Yeah.
other than on MTV.
Or do they understand the cultural differences in why things are done the way they are, why they look, and even the foods, you know what I mean? You hear about it. This is one thing I hear all the time is like, because we get a lot of culture here for like Somalia and,
Yep.
and Ghanaians and all that stuff
Yep.
like that. And like Hispanics, they cook with a lot of fucking spices. But for some reason here, it's like a weird thing. They're like, oh, that apartment complex smells like this or smells like that. And it's just fucking food. It's literally just food that you're smelling. But they make like the biggest,
is the
craziest
truth.
issue over it. Like it's just so like
You're
offensive
speaking the
or
truth.
wrong or
Yeah.
like, it doesn't make sense. Why does it have to smell? It's just like, because they're using flavor.
You are speaking the truth. So we and that's like
It don't
that's
taste like
my
mayonnaise.
hope. Like Anchorage is so diverse. Here's how diverse Anchorage is. I look at people and I can tell what region of the world they're from. Because it's a survival tactic where I'm
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
Because like certain Mexican groups don't get along with Spaniards.
yeah.
And the Tongans, you dare not call them Hawaiian because they're from Tonga. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was a survival tactic. So yeah, I totally get it. But now, so in North Dakota right now, and this is what I'm looking at, those people coming over are now in our classrooms. And so that person doesn't understand the culture of North Dakota. I mean, the first thing they find out is people drive really slow here. And they don't anymore, but back in 98, 99, I mean, we're back there like should I honk? And my girlfriend's like, don't you dare honk. We don't honk here. You know what I mean? And it's kind of just, it's crazy. But
You're supposed to do this over the steering wheel.
Yo, I jumped a bush in Valley City. Jumped a bush because I thought it was a drive-by. Dude slowed down and was giving me, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm not getting shot in Valley City. That's not how this is going down. And my coach was like, so I heard you jumped a bush. And I'm like, yeah, this dude slowed down behind me. I'm walking. And like, he gave me the finger. It was like, no, that's the North Dakota High. I mean,
Yeah.
these people are not, you were in a paper last week because you got recruited and signed to play here. Like, you got to calm down. This is how it is now in our classrooms.
Yeah.
And so we have a demographic sitting in those chairs, and the faculty demographic doesn't reflect that, number one. But number two is they don't understand that, you know, for them it's assimilate or kind of die. And so these kids are fighting. These kids of color are fighting with, do I assimilate and lose my identity? What do I do?
Right.
Like, what do I do? And the teachers are like, well, here's the thing. You're going to get a degree. And your life's just going to be better off. And that's not what these kids see. Like, these kids see, I can't go back home. Because I used to joke when I worked at Woodrow, which is now Dakota, I used to joke with some of the like local rappers, you know, that are in the schools. And I said, so you're from Chicago, right? Yeah. So what are you going to say, from the mean streets of Fargo? Like, yo, from Fargo. Good luck to you. Your rap career's done, guy. Okay.
It's funny you say that though, because I got a record deal with Cypress Hill from Fargo, but I'm from California.
Oh.
So back in the day, I used to do the local rapper thing too. And here I stood out like a sore thumb.
Right.
In Cali, I was a dime a dozen,
Right.
right? But here I stood out. My brother even got Best Lyricist of North Dakota in
Right.
Vibe magazine. They did like the top 50 best local rappers in
I
each
remember
state.
those, yeah.
He won it for North Dakota, but because we stood out like crazy,
Right.
right? We had the skill set, but back home we would have been 1 in a million, or we would have been a dime a dozen. Here we were 1 in a million.
And that's the thing. So a lot of those local rappers, they're like, okay, I'm just going to get my degree, or I'm going to drop out of school because I got to go back home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, brother, let me tell you something. You know, it's not going to be what you think it is when you go back. Even
See, now those are real issues, though.
Yeah.
these are the real racial issues that we
Yeah.
have to address, and they don't always necessarily point at the white man. We just want to blame the white man all the time, but
Right.
the reality of it is like we got to deal
Kill
with each other.
Whitey.
No, but we got to deal with each other first. Like we
Right.
really do. We got to stop the black on black crime and
Right.
all that shit. We have to deal with each other. We have to stop judging each other for making it out
Right.
because you didn't have the audacity or the ambition or whatever it may
Right.
be that held certain people back, or they just want to stay hood because that's all they understand,
Right.
versus the few of us were like, I want to get the fuck out of here. You know,
Right.
like I truly have dreams and ambitions of not living like this. I don't want to shake the cockroaches out of my cereal box anymore. I want to buy my own cereal box and put it in a fucking cabinet of an apartment that is in a nice neighborhood and I don't have roaches in.
Yeah.
So my ambition took me out of that shit. My ambition brought me to where I'm at today, where the lack of ambition that everyone else has kept them there. So when I go back
Yep.
home, it's like you said, I don't relate anymore.
You don't
man.
relate. Yeah.
Because
Shooting at
I'm
different
seeing all my
baskets.
homies, they're still doing that shit we were doing back then, and they're looking at
Yep.
me like, so what's up with you, bro? What are you doing? I'm just like, shit, you wouldn't understand.
Like, I got to stay out of jail because I own shit.
Yeah.
And that shit
Yeah.
will go away if I go to
Yep.
jail.
Or like the fight we were talking about earlier, like
Yeah.
shit like that. Like normally people look at me and they think, like, you're down with this, right? And I'm like,
Right.
nope.
Right.
Not here. You can go do that shit somewhere else, but not at my place of business. It's not how we get down, you know?
Yeah.
It's different,
Because
man.
the moment you slip up,
They're gonna say,
It's gone.
I told
And
you.
I told you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I told you that was
I
him.
told you.
I
yeah.
said that Suge Knight looking motherfucker was
For
going to do
you,
something.
you could be straight and narrow for 20 years,
Yeah.
and in the
The
year
slip
you
up.
mess up,
Yeah.
it'll be,
Yeah.
can't be trusted.
So,
That's
but
the
so
thing.
now those are the real
Right.
issues.
Is that
we
the
need
white
to be
privilege?
addressing. No, I don't believe in that either. I don't know how you feel about
How
that.
about-
I believe rich privilege is a thing, not white privilege. I think
I
we're
like that.
confusing that.
I
I think
like
we're
that.
confusing white privilege with rich privilege. 'Cause-
social, it's more social than
Yeah,
racial.
Because
I like
because I
that.
know,
Yeah.
you see all the rappers and celebrities and
Right.
ballers and shit. When they get in trouble, bro, they get off on all that shit too. They use money to get in and out of
Right.
situations all the time, and they're privileged as hell because
Right.
they got money.
Right.
money. Like, and is it? And I don't know statistics on this, so I'm talking out of my ass. But like,
Jamie, pull
maybe
that shit
just the white race is more dominantly successful and have more money, so it looks like it's just the white man that gets
actually
away
Asians.
with
I
everything.
think
But
Asians
I really don't believe in white privilege at all.
Yeah, I struggle with it for a long time. I believe that they're in like people of color have trauma,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
They have major trauma. And as the playing field was more and more level, it became socioeconomic. So yeah, I like the wealth privilege thing because I mean, I will be able to get out of things that my peers
Right.
that look like me will not be able to get out. Like like something will happen, they'll be like, "Oh, that's Dr. Woods."
Yeah. Yeah.
And like when I went for my doctorate, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like I heard that when Jalen Rose on that documentary said Duke. Now I know some cats that played for Duke and like really know them. Like they've won national titles. They've been NBA All Stars. Like I know cats from the ones from Alaska. But when you look at, you know, shit, I kind of forgot what I was talking about. Sorry. I was getting deep into something and I had it and that shit just flew away. Like, doctorate. So when Jalen Rose gets up there and he goes, you know, realistically, Duke doesn't recruit people who are from the hood. I really thought about that. And then I started thinking about some of my boys that got recruited from Duke and they are like, their dads and moms are doctors and nurses and professors. And I thought, oh shit, I don't know how true that is, but I'm gonna get my doctorate because I gotta do for my kids. You know what I mean? Like if they get recruited, I need them to look and be like, oh, that's Dr. Woods. So with that, when I walk down the street, it's like, yeah, that's Dr. Woods or whatever. But if it's somebody else, I mean, they're not gonna get that pass that I get. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's. I say that, you know, people need to recognize that what their privilege is. I don't think there's a blanket statement like white privilege or whatever. Right. But everyone has their own privilege.
So what you're saying is you're telling these white liberals to calm the fuck down.
Well, again, here's the thing.
Hold on. You're saying is that you don't believe in white privilege, right?
As it's defined, yes,
correct,
I
right.
don't.
The way they define
the way they define it, no, I don't.
Is there still case scenarios that exist where there's where there's preference for the white man over the minority? Hell yeah, 100% there is. But it's mostly due to our own way of thinking and our lack of ambition to be different. I can't act like you, so I'm not gonna act like you because then I'd be Uncle Tom if I do. Right. That's an issue that goes back to home. That's not a white person that put that issue on us. That's an issue that goes back to home. It's mom and dad and our neighbors and our homeboys and everybody that told us you're Uncle Tom if you do that. You whitewashed if you do that shit. Oh, you got money now, you're bougie as hell.
Mm-hmm. See, I don't ever like when I went through my journey and when I found out what blackness is, then I stopped doing blanket statements. Yeah. So I believe there is white privilege, but I don't believe that it's a blanket statement for all whites. I mean, that would discredit all the down white boys in our hood, right? Like that would discredit
That's what I say all the time. I know some of the downest ass white boys that you could not put that on them. They would never
put it on them.
They would never.
Because they were part of the struggle. Mm-hmm. Like we were all part of the struggle. So that's when, you know, I think it's
now they were the downest white boys you're gonna meet, but they were still there. You know what I mean? They're still white.
Right. They were still white. And they took a lot of gruff for that. And they took their punches and they kept it pushing.
Yeah, they earned their keep for
sure. So I'm very hard pressed to have any kind of blanket statements. Like it's
and that's my biggest issue is like even like I said with my own family that, you know, I've been accused of living in North Dakota too long, which is the nice way of saying like I'm racist or I'm turned or you're whitewashed. Yeah. But the reality of it is just that I've gotten perspective. Plain and simple, I've gotten perspective. I'm more open minded, and I've always had a hunger, right? So I know how to play the game.
Right.
I know how to, I was a hustler back in the day, man, and I still am a hustler. I just do it the right way now. You know what I mean? Like I hustle for good. I hustle for my kids. I hustle for success, and I want to keep the success that I have. You know what I mean? Like when I was in the street doing street shit and selling drugs and shit like that, there was no promise that I got to keep anything that I
Right.
earned from that shit.
Right.
It was a matter of day to day. Am I going to get busted today, or am I going to lose everything today? Where now I don't have to worry about that
Right.
shit. But when I do worry about it, it's usually because my own people come and try to mix things up for me and get me into situations that I shouldn't be in.
Right.
And then I got to make decisions to be like, no, and have them judge me. You know what I mean? So like, it's not predominantly a white issue that
No.
we're dealing with when it
No.
comes to minorities and the fact that we're being held back. We do it to ourselves a lot.
Right.
The problem is we don't want to admit it or face it, or we're too afraid to like come out of that shell, pull our pants up, and stop thugging.
Right.
We're like, nah, that's that goody two shoe shit that you're
Right.
doing, and it's just like, what? Like,
Right.
look at Dion, he's getting on just fine, right?
I am. Luckily, I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to pretend to be something I'm not. I grew up here. This is what
Yeah.
I've known my entire life. But
But your dad did a good thing for you.
he did. He did. And I mean, my brother is white, and he's one of the most down guys I know, and he's more hood than I ever will be.
That's usually
you know?
the case scenario.
Right.
When a white dude that grows up around minorities is gonna be a
Right.
down ass dude.
Yeah,
Right.
so I it's tough for me to, I guess, be on the same page, I guess. But I get everything that you guys are saying, and I've seen it secondhand. So luckily, I this is what I know.
Yeah, and
North
that's
Dakota's what I
that's
know.
where my kids, that's where your kids are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids are going to be that way.
My kids are for the most part, they're all half white.
right?
You know what I mean? So like when these racial issues came up in the last couple of years, man, I was really on the fence about it because
Right.
on one hand we had blacks running around knocking out white people for no reason, and I'm like, my boys, hey, two of my sons, they're big, they're
Yeah.
teenagers and they're monsters, right?
Right.
They look like grown ass men sometimes.
Right.
If someone runs up, some grown ass dude runs up and knocks my son out because he looks like a white boy, even though he's mixed, like that's a case for me, bro.
Right.
But the problem is that's me killing another minority.
Right. See, that's that.
And so we never escape the issues, bro, because we don't know how to stop
I
thinking
know.
out, inside the
I
box.
know.
We got to get out the box.
Yeah.
bro.
I know. And it's a journey. It is a crazy journey. I mean, even I struggle to this day. I can't remember. I was in the shower and something happened, and I thought, if that happened to me, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going back.
Yeah.
I'm going. I don't want to go back.
Those
but I'm
thoughts
going
all the
back.
time, man.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, man, somebody's gonna push me
Yep.
to act like a fool again, and I don't want to.
And
I
I don't
really,
wanna
I
do it.
genuinely don't want to do that no more, bro. Like I'm so good at de-escalating situations now. I can talk my way out of situations that I used to just fire off on.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that shit. I haven't been in a fight in I don't know how fucking long,
Right.
and I'm actually proud of that. Where before I'd be like, man, I ain't been in a fight in a minute. I need to knock somebody's head off. You know what I mean? Like, and it was ignorant speaking because that was all I knew. It was where I grew up. It was that hood lifestyle and shit. It was what my father figures are all taught me
Right.
that bullshit. You know what I mean? I got perspective. I got to leave. The first place I ever went out of California was right here. Fargo, North Dakota. First place. I was 19 years old when I came here, and I was a fool when I came here, bro. I was knocking fools' heads off.
Yeah.
I felt like everyone was mad dogging me, but they were just staring at me with curiosity.
Right.
But I was like, what are you looking at, fool? And they're just like, what? They were all,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yep.
just like, I remember
Yep.
jumping out at stoplights and socking dudes' windows and
Yep.
shit. Because there's a whole car full of little white dudes and shit when I'm 19 parked next to me, and they're all staring at me in the window. And I'm like, what are these motherfuckers looking at? I'm getting all mad, and I just jump out my car and bam, I just blast
Were
their
you
window.
driving?
here-
Were you driving a Cutlass?
Nah, I had an old Honda Civic back then.
Here's the thing, though. Like, those are that's our issue now in Fargo.
Yeah.
Like, we got people coming from all kinds of other places.
Yeah.
They don't understand the looks.
Yeah.
Culture shock.
It is a culture shock. Like, I was gonna leave my first year because it was just too much, and I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm meant to carry this torch, but I don't. It's way overbearing, and so you just get more angry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're just more angry. You're like, damn. Now you're questioning God. Like, what the hell you bring me here for? You know what I mean? Like, this ain't how it's supposed to be. Like, I was supposed to go Division I somewhere else.
Yeah.
And now I'm NAIA. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why am I here? But that's what we have now. So we have one culture that doesn't understand. No, we have two cultures that don't understand. Well, I should say multiple because Fargo
everybody.
is. I mean,
There's a lot of culture.
there's
There
a
is
lot of
a lot
culture here.
of culture.
But the beautiful thing, and I'm gonna say this, like, dude, shout out to Winnipeg, because if you haven't been to Folklorama in August, that's something you need to see. So they basically split up Winnipeg in like divisions. So this division is like Brazil, and this division is like Russia, and this division is like.
Oh wow.
And so you go there, you go to a place, and they will feed you the cuisine,
That's awesome.
and they'll do a show for you. It's eat show. It's something else I can't remember, but I mean, all over the entire town.
Man.
And I thought to myself, like, what if we did some shit like that in Fargo? That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Somaliville over here.
We already
what I
have
mean?
that.
Like, no, but I mean, you gonna take your white ass over there, and
In a
you're gonna
good
eat
way,
some
though.
food.
We
Yeah,
did it in a good way, not
Yeah.
in the negative way
Not-
that it's
yeah.
staged right now. You know, where it's like it's everyone's against everyone,
Yeah.
and we don't go there. We don't
Yeah.
know. Like, make it inviting and welcoming
Right.
to say, look, come get to know my fucking culture.
Right.
Hell
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
That's what we should do because in the same breath of the issues that we're talking about, like you discovered, you don't know culture. The people from here, the white people from here per se, are blind to culture. They don't understand it. They're completely ignorant, and there needs to be a way to deliver
Yeah.
the understanding of what culture is like for those people. But it's certainly not shoving it down their throats and making
Right.
them wash our feet and shit like that.
Right.
To me, that's bullshit. I
Yeah.
hated seeing that, and that's how you can tell it's being led by somebody that doesn't have a fucking clue
Right.
about what's going on in culture for reals.
Right.
Which it's our government.
See, but if we did like the culture thing like that, like you were explaining, Woods, I'd feel so left out because it's like, what am I gonna make deviled eggs and like collard greens or what?
Right.
I gotta make both.
Right.
I gotta
And
be
that-
a part of both.
See, that's the thing.
See,
is-
but motherfuckers like you become the president of that whole shit.
That's
You know?
what I mean. That's
fellow
what
Americans.
I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing is we now. So, and I want to say, dude, you got to ask Heather about the collard green story. That is hilarious.
Hey, let me just say though, let me be the first one to say when I moved here, I never in my life heard of Nefla soup.
Yo.
Bro, that shit is so fucking good.
Oh, dude. I put on 20 pounds
Oh
eating that
man,
shit. They
Nefla
were like,
soup is so badass,
they
bro.
were like, you know, those old ladies on that commercial, Kroll's, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you got to go over to Kroll's and get you. So here I am with this bucket of Nefla soup,
Yeah.
happy as hell, going home like I came from the ice cream truck, and I'm just
Yeah.
eating the shit out of it. I don't even know what's in it.
Me either. I had no clue.
Oh,
But
20
that shit was
pounds.
dank as hell to me, man.
yeah.
To me, it was a culture food I
Right.
never even heard of.
Right.
But there's other shit I won't fuck with, like like Ludafisk and all
Yeah,
that. Shit. You
Ludafisk
guys
is
are on
stupid.
another level with
I don't
that
do
shit,
any of
bro.
that.
But-
See, Ludafisk is like collard greens though. Like you had collard greens because you didn't have shit. Like you were a slave. The master gave you like part of the pig, so you boiled some goddamn weeds and some
Yeah.
fat, and then that's what you had to
made
eat.
do.
I look at my parents. I'm like, we ain't got to eat that shit no more. We free. What
Yeah.
are we doing right now? You know what I
That's
mean?
soul food. No.
Like, oh, that is gross. Like, get you some cornbread. No, hell no.
You're gonna
Okay.
eat your cornbread.
Yeah, Ludafisk is the same way. They're like, oh yeah, people lining up for that shit.
Yeah,
I'm like,
now it's
yo,
a delicacy now. And shit
I'm
too.
like,
Yeah.
yo, that is. We are. It is 2022. No one eats live.
Also, I would like you guys to understand that lefse is fucking tortillas.
Thank you. I said.
I don't know how else to put it, but lefse
Said
is a
same
fucking
thing.
tortilla with sugar on it.
I don't fuck with Lefse or Ludafisk, so
I said the same thing. Like that's bullshit. Like you guys like accosted a damn recipe. Oh, it's potatoes. It's not flour. Fuck that.
hey,
Like,
that's what white people do. we take shit over and make it our own.
That's true.
yeah, you got a point.
See, now we're talking facts.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
Before we get into the next topic, I wanted to ask you one more time, or one thing. What do you think about BLM?
So here's the thing.
True story.
No, true
honest
story.
to God.
Honest to God. Like I don't. Here's the thing about me, and my students know this. Like, don't ask me shit unless you want to know the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let me
Like
just-
I will tell you the truth.
I mean, like, I know feelings got like really exaggerated, especially
Right.
right after George Floyd and
Right.
that whole debacle and everything like that.
Right.
But before that, and then now, everything that you know, what's your feeling on BLM?
I felt the same way the entire time. So there's two factors to know. Do I believe that Black Lives Matter? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. Do I believe in a group? No.
Bingo.
No,
The
because
organization's not for black people.
it was something that was for, and I believe at first it was.
It was intended to be, maybe, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they fell into the same thing that a lot of people fall into, which is you have to control your bottom 10%. Because if your bottom 10% say something different than what your beliefs are as a group, that's what people are going to see. So like when I tell people, so students will come up to me sometimes and they'll say, you know what, I don't think this is right. We're going to do this. We're going to walk out of the school. And I said, okay, that's cool. But you got to control the bottom 10% who are going to just walk out and skip because they screw up your message. That's what happened.
Yep.
In my
You're
opinion,
100% right.
that's what happened.
That's what the riots and everything were all about.
Right.
That's
So
what it was all about.
listen,
The bottom 10% fucked it up for everyone else.
Am I for
wanted to fuck shit
people
up.
walking? I didn't go to the Fargo march because I was like, they're not. I don't
Well, the ones
feel
that were
they
running that shit had the wrong agenda in mind too, man. Like some of them were really far left with that shit. Like it was weird, man.
But my thing is you can march for whatever, right? But you got to control your bottom 10%.
Yep.
And so when the bottom 10% starts throwing chairs and businesses, now you're like, dude, that's on you. You know what I mean? Like even if you did not approve that, that's on you. So I feel like when BLM became national, they had to make sure that their generals in each state or whatever state they were in had shit under control. They didn't.
And you know, to be fair too, from what I've seen, especially locally, the majority of the people that kicked off the rioting and the throwing of chairs and shit into windows weren't even black people.
Yeah,
It was the other ones
I
coming
saw-
in. They were like, it was almost like they were purposely staying like Antifa, so to speak, right? Like they were
Right.
calling a lot of it Antifa, but like they were infiltrating
Yeah.
to skew the message and skew the point of what was going on. And that's when I lost interest in supporting the organization.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Right.
people think if you say, I don't support BLM, that all of a sudden you racist and you hate
Right.
black people. And that's not the case. I want real justice for the
Right.
black community,
Right.
not fake justice.
Right.
And BLM is fake justice. That organization didn't do nothing for the blacks. They didn't really, have any agenda to help any situation that we were doing. They were just saying, do more of the bad shit.
Yeah.
And the
That's
people
how
at
we're
the,
going to get our voice heard.
the people at the top were like buying mansions and shit. Like,
Yeah,
the guy came out in the news today, I think, because he was making millions of dollars. And like you said, what have they done?
Nothing.
Have they done anything?
But now they're exposed too.
I mean,
at
besides,
at this
like,
point, people know.
Well, the one thing
like from your perspective, has that organization done anything good?
when they started, people were united under them, and I think they brought a recognition of some of the injustices that were going on. I think that
But they used them to their advantage. They didn't play them for real issues.
like at first, I think that's what they did. They did something that the NAACP had done for years and was not able to do anymore. And all those groups, they weren't able to touch the youth and be able to like unify them. And that's what BLM did.
Yeah.
So here's the funny thing. So some of the things that played out that I've read with BLM play out all the time in organizations. So like the Black Panthers, same thing happened.
Yep.
They were strong. They had a good message. They unified, and then their bottom 10% started to start talking to the FBI.
Yeah, the
and
government
all this
always
other
gets involved
stuff.
and
so
skews things, man. For sure.
when you start something like that, it has to be from a place of sacrifice. Like, I am doing this for the greater good.
Yes.
And I feel like when money and things get involved, then it starts getting ugly. And I know you have to like make the money in order to gain resources. But once they did that and they didn't really have it under control, it was more like it was just free for all.
The problem is they always have a plan of what they want to do, and that the money's going to come, and once they get to this certain
Yep.
level of success, this is the game plan. From there, though, there's never a plan of how to keep the success
Yep.
moving. There's never a plan to say, okay, once we get that,
Yep.
then what do we do, right? So then they get it, and next thing you know, they're buying mansions, they're taking trips, they're doing
Yeah.
this, and the money's not going where it should go,
Right.
and the organization doesn't have a game plan or a
Right.
process of how they're going to handle things. So
The first $1 is easy to get, right?
hell yeah, hell
but
yeah.
then you have to keep.
how do you keep
How do you
making it,
keep
or how
the
do you
money?
hold on to
How
that?
do you hold on to it?
And
And
that's where
that's-
people fail all the time.
That's where organizations and people fail all the time. So yeah, once again, I don't believe in an organization. I mean, that's not my push. I don't share the same values as they do. But do I believe that Black Lives Matter? Yes.
Hell yeah.
But there's a stigma with that because people don't finish the sentence. It's like Black Lives Matter as much as everyone else.
Yeah.
And so
I was watching
That's the
videos of
thing.
this dude. That he was in a black neighborhood. He had All Lives Matter shirt or
Yeah.
a sign, and he was like getting his ass whooped.
yeah, I think I did see that video actually last month, and I'm like, that is bold.
Let me
That's
ask you
great.
this. Let me ask you this. This is going to be a controversial topic. Do you think that Derek Chauvin got a fair shake in his trial?
It was impossible for him to, but he was a piece of shit anyway. So
Okay.
no, I shouldn't say it like that because of the law and how like what I believe in. I believe like fair is fair is fair. Do I believe he got a fair trial? Yes, I did. I think he got the most fair trial he could get with the whole hoopla surrounding what he did.
And the exposure that
And
it all got.
exposure.
There's no
That
way.
exposure was unreal. And I think they did a really good job of trying to keep that exposure away from everything.
Yeah. I think one of the bad things that they did on the opposing end of that is they tried to paint the fact that just because George Floyd was a druggie, he deserved to die.
Right.
And
Right.
that looked so fucking bad in their argument, man.
Right.
They
Yeah.
did no favors. You know
And see,
what I mean?
that's the thing is like people have to ask themselves if someone does something bad, do you get to be judge, jury, and executioner?
No.
Like you guys know Adam Martin, right? Like
Yeah,
the
that's a
F5
good friend of
project.
mine.
That's a dude,
Yeah, he's a
right?
good
Like
friend of
that guy's a dude. Shout out to him. But like he did some dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So for all the good he did now, when he found himself, that could have been gone
Yeah.
if he was taken out. So I think a lot of people forget that, you know, even guilty people deserve due process.
So, in my opinion, I don't think that dude killed him, because I worked with a dude about the same size as him and same weight. And I was like, because we were watching the trial at work, I was like, Ben, lay down. Let me put my knee on your neck.
Yeah.
And I literally put my knee on his neck, and I'm 250 some pounds, or I was probably 260 at the time.
275.
But did you aggress him and try to keep him from moving or anything along those lines? Were you scared of him
I was
in the same
I
process?
literally put my whole body on his neck. I said, "Move your head around. Can you still breathe?" Yeah, I can still breathe. So I don't know.
But maybe
That's
the
what I'm
drugs
saying.
did kill him, but how do you prove that?
Right.
No, I don't.
In that situation,
I
how do
don't
you
think it
prove
was. It probably
Like
wasn't.
that's like saying
It was
if you
100%.
shot somebody who was already going to die anyway, did your bullet actually kill them?
Right. I think it played a part in it for sure. I think
Yeah.
his heart just, it was so much, and it probably just
See, when
gave
you
out.
when you take the law into consideration,
Yeah.
like that's part of the guiltiness. So
Yeah.
if you got in a car crash with a dude,
By the way, I'm not saying that what
no,
he did was
yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
that wasn't the
If you get in a car crash with another guy,
The
and
right
then
way
the
to
guy
do it.
has a heart attack,
yeah
then now you're on trial saying, "Did you cause the heart attack?"
heart attack, right?
And that's the thing. That's one of those.
That's
things.
that's one of those ones we'll never know the real answer
Right.
to, or we'll never
Right.
understand
Right.
because at the time, did politics grab a hold of that and use it for their agenda? Fuck yeah! And they skewed everything. They tried to
It was all about
bury
race.
Yeah,
after
Yeah.
that.
They
It was
made
all
it they
about
made
race.
it their situation instead of letting it play out to what it should have played out.
And the
for.
other guy was like, the other cops were, it was an Asian guy, and I think he was Middle Eastern, right? The other dude.
I think so.
And then, of course, Derek.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
All right, so I don't want to kill us on this, but we're running time here short, and First, I want to say this was a dope topic. I'm glad that we
fun.
were able to get you on and get your opinion on it as well and have a good conversation around it. I love your point of views, man. I think it's awesome that you're an educator and that you're doing what you're doing because you are taking a stand and you're doing something different than our people have done for a really long time in terms of trying to blur the lines, which is, I think that's what we need to be doing.
Right.
We need to blur the lines and stop pointing out how hard divided we are by these lines and just blur the motherfuckers and let's just see how we all mesh together. That's my personal opinion. I stand by that. I continue to say that. And every time I talk to other people about it, we seem to all be in agreement that the government is painting things, the media is painting things to be a way that they're really not. When you get down into the trenches, it's not like it looks. We're not running around here hating on each other, black and white, unless you watch the news. Then it looks that way, but it's not truly happening like that in the streets where we're all actually living and at. So, dope conversations, man. I really appreciate you being here.
Before we end this, I want him to tell.
I'm going to get to that.
Story.
I'm going to get. Okay, go ahead.
You got to tell him the story about the lady that was behind me at the gym.
Oh Lord Jesus! I try to forget this story, and it just keeps popping his head up. So Cody is the gym jackass. I don't know if he still is, but like he's the gym jackass, right?
Notorious for it.
Yeah. So he eats nothing but junk at this point, and he's just trying
Famous
to get
bowls
bigger.
and Big Macs.
Yeah, and he's just trying to get big or whatever. And so he can barely move without something happening. Like some air has to escape from somewhere. He can barely move, right? So there's a magazine rack, and Cody is in front of the magazine rack.
Sitting on a stool. And I'm facing.
You weren't sitting on a stool.
I was on a stool.
Okay.
I was on the stool and I was facing away from the magazine rack.
The butt was facing the magazine rack.
Yeah.
And this poor lady, I don't even think she lives there anymore. She probably did, but like this poor lady reached down for a magazine. And he let out a fart that
was a
like
fucking chainsaw fart
on a wooden chair too.
It was
it was just reverberating on the chair.
It was
it was unreal.
Those are the most funny kind of farts, honestly.
It was like fucking.
Man, I'm looking like. You know, and
So I
everything
looked up.
slowed down from that point.
His face was just like he was in disbelief that I did that.
Disbelief, and so I'm looking.
I didn't know that she was behind me.
I'm
First
looking,
off.
and I'm like. So now
You
at
gave
this
him the
point,
look that kid gave you in the store.
I was just about to say, I gave him that look, and I'm like, okay, so he just farted out lady's face, and that shit was louder than hell. So
it was fucking loud.
she
I
just
didn't know
acts
she was
like
behind me.
nothing happens
Oh my
and
God.
gets up and and she actually continued her workout.
Yeah.
And so
I took off running and I was like, oh fuck.
I looked, and then I looked at the lady, and Cody turned around. And he was like, "Oh shit!" and took off running. So here I am, just chilling. I'm looking to the door. I'm looking over here. I'm looking to the door, and I go back there, and I go, "Do you realize what you just did? I don't think we can work out. I think we have to like go home. Like she's here." Like, I think that's assault. Tell you the honest truth. Good Lord.
Biological warfare.
It was a fucking chainsaw fucking right in her face.
There are a few times that I almost died laughing. Like, literally almost died. I could not catch my breath. I mean, we were back in that back room laughing for like, and I don't know if Kelly has video of that, but that is crazy.
So Cody's never changed.
Cody has never changed. Unreal.
Man, that's awesome. Good story. Thanks again, Dave. Before we let you go here, Dr. Woods, sorry. Give us 3 of your top gym pet peeves.
Oh, shit.
Make it 5 if you need to.
Okay. Leaving weights off the rack. Like where they're not putting them back.
Yeah.
Okay.
People who use horseshit form but lift a lot of weight.
Cody?
Used to.
I was gonna say, yeah, that would have been. I could imagine.
Oh my god. And flies in the gym.
Yeah.
Flies in the gym is
I was just talking to you about that the other day. Flies in the gym.
Yeah, that's a
Holy
tough one.
shit. I can't
Go to 5. I really want to know.
flies in the gym, window stairs, like people who look at mirror stairs, people who look at themselves in the mirror. And now I am actually starting to hate the video cameras.
Okay.
Or people setting it up.
Yeah, because
Like
they
tripods and everything all decked out, or
well, yeah, because they own an area.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
listen, I film my daughter deadlifting because I want to show her form and stuff like that. But if someone walks by, it's like, okay, it is what it
yeah.
is. But
Yeah.
it's not gym rule.
yeah,
Yeah.
like these people are pissed.
Yeah.
You walk by, you're like, dude, I'm grabbing a 10. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm taking a video.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
Oh, they'd be like, really, dude? What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's
You
just
don't see
sorry,
me taking
I don't
up
look
this
for
20
phones
feet.
in the gym when I'm
Right,
training. Yeah, I get
right.
that. Yeah.
So
I leaned
yeah.
it up against that piece of wood right there. You didn't see that?
Like what amazes me is how they even have the suction cups now
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It amazes me the way that
See,
they find to film
I agree.
themselves.
I agree with probably all of those. But as a gym owner, it's so hard for me to play the
Right.
role I want to play.
Right.
I actually provide fucking phone holders and shit in my gym too, for that people can just magnetize to a piece of equipment and hang their phone and take a shot if they want to. So I'm probably contributing to the issue in a sense, but. There's a fine line. I feel
There's
like
a fine
as a
line.
gym owner, I have to play this role. Like I can't do everything the way I want it done because then I won't have the growth that I need
Right.
to have. You know what I mean? So I get that 100%, man.
Right.
Yeah, that's just all I want
But
to do.
you've never had a fight in your gym because somebody walked across.
No, but I've had people bicker at each other and shit like that. Over. Yeah. I've had to de-escalate several
There's
situations.
a couple times, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
hell no!
But you know, I don't take a side. I just tell them that it's stupid on both parts,
Right.
and that it's not a gym policy for people to watch for phones. You know, if you're gonna film yourself, that's dope, but you just got to make sure that you're being respectful, that people don't care.
Right.
And if you can find the middle ground there, I think we're good. So
Right.
Yeah.
cool, man. Well, again, thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate you. This has been an awesome one. I'm gonna have fun editing this, and
Yeah.
we'll get this out quick. I never got feedback from you guys on the last one, but it's done, so I'm gonna drop it.
Yeah, drop it.
Otherwise, thanks everybody for listening to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Do you have any social medias you want to drop for anybody?
Oh,
Do you
heck
care?
yeah. Dude, now it's okay. So
Fat fuck
you're gonna-
3000.
You're gonna find this hilarious. So on Twitter, I'm Oofda Black.
Oh shit! I like that. Yeah.
Oofda Black on
All
Twitter.
inclusive,
Yeah, all
yes, there you
inclusive.
go.
Like I have a
Oofda.
blog, and that's become my name now. It's like David Oofda Black Woods.
All right.
And then on all other social medias, I'm just David Woods.
David Woods.
Perfect.
Cool. Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you. Don't forget to tell your friends about us, talk your shit, tell everyone how bad it is or how awesome we are, either which way. Make sure you mention us. Peace out.